I begin today's sermon with the words of Reverend Ron Ferris. We are here today to remember people we never knew. We'll soon know their names and where they were, but we don't know the sound of their laughter, the senses of humor, the things about them that really get on their friends' nerves, or how much regret or love they had in their hearts. Although we will know their names and look at snapshots of their beautiful faces, we run the risk of allowing the essence of their being to dissolve into the overwhelmingly oppressive statistics of our day. Statistics such as those from the 2011 report that was produced by the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force and the National Center for Transgender Equality. The report revealed that 41% of the transgender respondents had attempted suicide, compared to the 1.6% of the general population. 78% of those who expressed a transgender identity or gender nonconformity while in grades K through 12 reported harassment. 35% reported physical assault, and 12% reported sexual violence. Survey respondents experienced unemployment at twice the rate of the general population, and 1/5 of them reported experiencing homelessness at some point in their lives because they were transgender or gender nonconforming. 1 out of every 5 people reported being refused medical care due to their transgender or gender nonconforming status. And according to a report this week, 265 trans persons have been murdered worldwide over the last year. That's a lot of numbers, isn't it? And that's the problem. It's so many numbers, so many alarmingly large numbers, that eventually we become numb to it all. We have managed to reduce the whole ugly mess of discrimination and violence against members of God's family to a bunch of statistics and numbers that can be entered into spreadsheets and converted to graphs. And in this way, we distance ourselves from their humanity. We don't have to consider their pain and struggles, but they are human. And they do struggle. And they, like you and me, feel pain. Oh, how they feel pain. Imagine what it must be like for your identity as male or female, your sexual identity, to be out of sync with your body. Try to imagine the painful reality of it. Imagine struggling with it on a daily basis, every day of your life. And then imagine that no one must ever know your secret. If you tell anyone, you run the risk of ridicule, rejection, and yes, death. A violent death. Our brothers and sisters know what pain is. And so the least we can do, the very least, is to remember them. To acknowledge the short time they walked among us and to grieve our loss. They were taken away from us by people who are imprisoned by a static way of thinking, a black and white way of thinking, in which they are right and anyone who thinks or behaves differently is wrong. They are people whose lives are ruled by fear and anger, And they worship an angry and frightening God, not the same God of love and grace that you and I worship. The God we worship breaks down barriers that separate people. Paul put it this way in this morning's reading. There is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer slave or free. There is no longer male and female. For all of you are one in Christ Jesus. In other words, religion, social status, and gender have no bearing in God's world. But unfortunately, not everyone lives in God's world. Some people wreak havoc upon God's world. They destroy lives, ironically, in the name of the God they worship. And so the very least we can do here today is to remember some of the lives which have been destroyed, and to commit ourselves to doing what we can to repair God's world. Each of you have inside your worship bulletin a card, a unique card of someone whose life was taken over the past years simply because they dared to present themselves in a way that wasn't acceptable to someone. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to come forward and read the information on the card. Don't get hung up on how to pronounce the words that may be too difficult to pronounce. That's not the point. The point is to call out the name of someone who has been taken from us. If you just can't bear the idea of speaking in front of this group, please don't stress out about it. No one is going to make you do anything you don't want to do. You may want to pass your card to a neighbor who is willing to read it for you, or simply bring it to the front for one of the readers afterwards to read on your behalf, or me. After the card is read, then we'll place it at the base of this memorial candle that's burning. And if you have a concern about being videoed, you don't have to worry. The video camera will only focus on the base of the memorial candle. And after all of the cards have been read, I'll close with a prayer. So I'm going to start out, and I'm just going to invite you to come as you feel comfortable and read your card up here. Kendall Hampton, Cincinnati, Ohio, shot August 29th, 2012. Kendall was 26 years old.
Agnes Torres Sulca, location Atilco, Puebla, Mexico. Cause of death, neck wounds, burned, thrown in a ditch. Date of death, March 10, 2012.
Unknown name, Manaus, Amazonas, Brazil. Cause of death, strangulation. Date of death, January 17th, 2012.
Brenting Doyley, New Orleans, Louisiana. Cause of death, severe head trauma. Date of death, November 26, 2011. He was 22 years old.
Papina, aka Charlemagne Rosa, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Cause of death was gunshots, 2 gunshots to the back. Died January 1st, 2012. Papina was 25.
Tracy Johnson, location Baltimore, Maryland, cause of death, multiple gunshot. Date of death is July 5th, 2012.
Terrell Jackson, Riviera Beach, Florida. Cause of death, shot. Date of death, April 4th, 2012. Terrell was 23 years old.
I'm not going to use it. I have 2 cards. Paige Clay, location Chicago, Illinois. Cause of death, gunshot to the face. Date of death, April 16th, 2012. Paige was 23 years old. And Meenakshi, location Krishna Cherry, India. Cause of death, burn and throat slit. Date of death, April 12th, 2012.